The time is just gone 20 minutes past 9 a.m. as we continue with the second half of this morning's edition of News and Views. And we're going across now to be joined by Professor Mia Swart, who is a producer at Al Jazeera Center for Public Liberties and Human Rights, coming against the background of Joe Biden, his relationship with Saudi Arabia, King Salman, and more importantly, the Jamal Khashoggi report. Professor Mia Swart, good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, wonderful having you with us. Now, obviously, 2 years down the line, the Jamal Khashoggi affair is not going to go away until we get to the bottom of obviously what has happened, and also at the same time holding those responsible and accountable for his murder. And this is the reason why we see Joe Biden, and we knew in the past, even at the time when he was not the president of the United States of America, he felt very, very strongly about this particular matter.
That's right. It was, in fact, one of his campaign promises that he would follow up on the Khashoggi matter and, work towards accountability should that be necessary. And it's really a great sign that so early in his presidency, he's ready to make good on this. So it will be very interesting to see what transpires today, because today is the day that the release of an important CIA report or report of the NDI is expected, that has to do with the Khashoggi matter.
Yes. Now, obviously, we've learned even before the release of the report, central to this entire saga that has been unfolding has been MBS, Mohammed bin Salman. And the fact of the matter that Joe Biden has not given MBS the recognition that Donald Trump had given him. And we know Donald Trump in terms of what his reaction to the Khashoggi matter as well at that point in time. So obviously this is going to be quite a major issue that is going to play out in Saudi Arabia, particularly with MBS, who had basically assumed control as the leader of the country.
That's right. It is particularly brave and bold of Biden to take a step, should he take steps against MBS, because MBS is a very powerful man. We know that he has largely suppressed dissent in Saudi Arabia, and that many world leaders have equally been, a bit meek and displaying a lack of courage in acting against him. So this would really be an admirable step of Joe Biden to take. We know that Trump was particularly unwilling to take any steps, that he was even attacking Jamal Khashoggi's credibility. Even after the CIA, in a report just 1 month after the killing, pointed towards MBS's complicity and, guilt. Trump was unwilling to follow up. Trump said that he was a jihadist. He really tried to paint him in the worst possible manner towards the American public, and it would really just be a fantastic sign in terms of the new moral authority the American presidency could assert. But I think it would be particularly interesting to see what the economic implications of this could be, because we know that Saudi Arabia is a prominent economic force in the Middle East, and what sort of compromises or sacrifices the US is willing to make to assert this moral authority.
Yes. Now, also, to all intents and purposes, the report obviously is quite clear, and it implies that MBS was involved in the murder and the dismemberment of the body. Now, the key question here at the end of the day is, we know that, with this report obviously coming out, and with MBS going to be, I think he's going to be somewhat in a dilemma as far as his position in Saudi Arabia goes. Is this likely to have internal consequences for him, and particularly when one knows that King Salman himself obviously getting on in life, aged to the extent that some people even say that he's becoming senile. So where does this leave the power that MB has at this point in time, or the power he enjoys in Saudi Arabia?
Well, thus far, MBS has certainly seemed fairly untouchable in Saudi Arabia, and this has been amplified or strengthened by his strong opposition or suppression of any opposition or dissent. So it is very difficult to tell whether within Saudi Arabia it would have consequences for him. I would not be surprised if, he remains in power and if he's strongly supported even by his father, because this has been the trend so far. I mean, there's been so many reports by the United Nations, by the CIA in the past, pointing to his culpability, and he has survived all of that. So it looks like he could be the cat with 9 lives.
Yes, well, certainly. And also, I think just apart from the Khashoggi affair, the whole question about Yemen, because this is another talking point. This is another issue that Biden obviously feels very, very strongly about, the Saudi and its involvement in Yemen.
Yes, it's particularly good that Biden has already stopped selling arms, declared that he would stop selling arms to Riyadh. Because those arms would be used, against the Yemeni population. And this decision comes very late, but, at least it comes early in Biden's presidency and is a very good sign in terms of, again, a new moral authority that Biden wants to assume.
Well, clearly, and as you pointed out earlier, in terms of the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia, and we know they've had strong economic ties for a very, very long time. And in terms of sacrificing, because this is what Donald Trump had focused mainly on in terms of arms sales to Saudi Arabia. And we know his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, very much involved in all matters when it came to the Middle East, when it came to Saudi Arabia as well, and the close association that Jared Kushner had with his friendship with MBS. Now, obviously, a lot of this is obviously going to change, and even to make sacrifices, it's going to require sacrifices on the part of the United States, because we know when it comes to arms, when it comes to arms sales, these are very, very lucrative for the United States of America.
That's right. And I wish I had an answer for you about, how they would compensate for this economic loss. I'm not an economist. I cannot tell you this. But it's possible that the US can make new allegiances, can forge new allegiances, because it's now, will take a principled stance. I am not sure, how much money we are speaking about here. But in my mind, it is only a good thing. I'm sure that, there must be ways of making up for this economic loss. But one would also have to see if the US is consistent in actually carrying out this promise. We know that it's not just selling arms to Saudi Arabia. And one would also have to see whether the US puts pressure on other countries to take similar steps not to sell arms, because we know the UK for a long time have been selling arms.
Well, certainly, I think
yes.
Exactly. I think you raised a very, very important point in terms of who else the United States of America can influence as far as the relationship with Saudi Arabia goes, because we know at one point in time, many countries were totally reliant on Saudi Arabia, particularly as a result of oil. And when we see how the oil dynamics have played out in the last couple of years, even in the United States of America, they become a net exporter of oil. So they are not as reliant on Saudi oil as they were before, which obviously was seen as a gun that was held to the head of many nations that were reliant on Saudi Arabia, specifically for oil only.
Yes, I mean, this would be the best possible outcome, that Saudi Arabia should get the message that it's not, indispensable, that the US doesn't rely on it necessarily, and that, it cannot continue to put other countries in this dilemma of or trade sort of moral authority for economic prosperity or economic benefit. I mean, this is a really unhealthy situation, and it makes a farce of the entire international system and international law. I mean, if there's been repeated UN reports, if there's been a CIA report, if there has been all this evidence over so many months and years that MBS was directly responsible for Khashoggi's killing, and there is no accountability, no sanctions on Saudi Arabia, no consequences for Saudi Arabia. I mean, the situation cannot really continue, and it is very heartening to see that Joe Biden, so early in his presidency, will be taking steps.
Yes, and just finally, Professor Miaswat, Saudi Arabia has been under the radar for far too long in terms of democracy, in terms of its track records, as far as human rights are concerned, in terms of
Yes.
abuses. And we've seen even recently there was this release of this woman, which was basically more of a token release, a token gesture as well. So this possibly could be another area, another focus where Joe Biden obviously would come out quite strongly against Saudi Arabia in terms of human rights abuses within the country.
Right. Of course, human rights abuses in Saudi Arabia doesn't start and end with Khashoggi or with Yemen. We know that internally in Saudi Arabia, torture is a major problem. We know that there's wide-scale violation of the major international law treaties, and that it's time that the world stops ignoring this. Because they think that there'd be some sort of economic benefit for them to do so. And if Joe Biden takes the lead, hopefully others will follow.
Well, Professor Miaswat, thank you very much for that and for your time with us this morning on News and Views on Salam Media. We wish you all the best. Please take care.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Yes, that was Professor Miaswat against the background of Joe Biden, this meeting with or calling on King Salman and this report. This is going to be quite interesting in terms of the report on the Khashoggi report that obviously will be coming out today. So this is something that we are going to be looking out to. And with that, we're going to go for a break. We come back. We're going to tackle a worrying issue, a serious issue. Children as young as 4 years old going out trying to scrounge whatever they can to feed, to earn a living on behalf of their families. And this is in the COVID-19 era in South Africa.